All right, good morning, everyone. I have 11 o'clock here, so we'll go ahead and get started with our Monday briefing. Uh, I'm going to go right ahead and we're going to start with the tropical slide first. Just wanted to point out some of the areas we're focusing on and looking at as we go forward here over the next week. First, two areas of disturbances, not too far off the coast, but luckily these are very weak and our expected development is very low, and they're also heading away from the local area, so no impacts are expected with any of these yellow areas going forward. Now, the one area of concern that we are watching is Tropical Storm Erin, which has just formed as of 11 a.m., has been upgraded from a disturbance to a tropical storm. And the latest advisory will be out here momentarily, if it's not already, with more details. But this is formed near the Cape Verde Islands, and we're still watching this very closely. Any impact from in the local area, though, would not be until at least a week or more from now. And I do want to show another piece of information here. Let me just switch screens, so give me just a second. Okay, you should be seeing a new graphic now that looks like a heat map. Here is where the system is currently at, again, near the Cape Verde Islands. And this graphic here is showing a combination of all of the models and all of the model ensembles and displaying it in a heat map where the red is where the biggest agreement is at and the blue is where there is less in the way of agreement. This is from this morning, or from last night, so it will update again later this morning. But for now, you can see pretty decent agreement that we traverse west across the Atlantic, and then some disagreement by the time we get to roughly Thursday and beyond. Where does the system go from there? Still a wide variety of solutions amongst all the models, but at least the latest theme has been to recurve this system somewhere off the coast. Now, whether it be further to the east, further to the west, that's still up in the air. But we will be watching this as we move forward here, and by the Thursday briefing, we should have many more details on where the system is ultimately going to go. But at least the theme as of last night again is for a recurve of some sort. Obviously, could be changes as we go forward in time. It's always a good time just to again keep an eye on your tropical plans and make any preparations that need to be done within that 7 to 10 day range. Let me go ahead and go back to our normal briefing now. Okay, now looking at some of the other highlights for the weather across the area over the week. The biggest theme will be warming temperatures area-wide and increasing humidity, feeling more like summer. We had our fall preview last week, but temperatures should be generally in our normal range for this time of year. Heat indices approaching 100, but nothing excessive or nothing like we've seen previously in the summer is what it appears so far. We do also get to see the rain chances on the increase. Isolated to scattered storms are going to develop mainly south of 64 today and tomorrow. Could be some locally heavy rain, mainly southern parts of the area, which may lead to some localized flooding issues. And by the time we get to the mid and late portion of the week, we are looking at maybe a bit more of a scattered rain chance across the entire area, with locally heavy rainfall everywhere. We do still have a moderate rip current risk for all the area beaches today. Does drop off a little bit with the moderate hanging on for the southern beaches into tomorrow, but becoming low further north. And the marine, pretty quiet this week. Typical summer pattern, light east-southeast winds today becoming more south and southwesterly as we get later tonight into later in the week. Just looking ahead the next few days with the weather setup, we have this frontal boundary just south of the area, which is bringing that chance of isolated to scattered storms I talked about today into tomorrow. We do see this begin to lift a little bit further north on Wednesday with the increasing rain chances everywhere, along with a front coming down from the northwest, again increasing maybe some rain chances, especially as we get into Thursday and Friday, as that front from the north gets a bit closer, but also slows down, likely stalling somewhere north of our local area. Looking at that rainfall outlook today and tomorrow, again, highest threat is roughly south of 64, far southern Virginia, North Carolina, for at least an isolated flash flood potential with any heavier storms. Most locations will not be seeing the significant rainfall, but very isolated in nature. Could cause flooding depending on where the storm set up. Again, breaking it down for today, locally 2 to 3 inches is possible in spots, especially where a heavier storm sets up, but most areas will see a ½ inch or no rainfall today. And looking at the total rainfall amounts today through Wednesday, again, the heaviest amounts widely focused across far southern Virginia to North Carolina, where in excess of 1 inch is possible, locally higher with any of these thunderstorms. And as you get further north, lesser rainfall amounts are expected at least through Wednesday. There is a general increasing rain chance area-wide as we get Wednesday and beyond. Looking at just the forecast precipitation, especially I'll focus on Wednesday night into Sunday night, the second half of the week. Still looking at that isolated to scattered afternoon and shower and storm potential, at least through the second half of the week, and then decreasing by the time we get into the weekend again with high pressure returning. No severe weather is expected area-wide, at least organized. Obviously couldn't rule out a stray stronger storm, but nothing has been highlighted by the Storm Prediction Center at this time. Just breaking it down, looking at the high temperatures, low temperatures, and precipitation throughout the week. Again, the biggest theme here is just the gradually increasing temperatures, but remaining close to normal. A lot of high temperatures in the upper 80s to around 90 through the time frame, with lows in the 60s and 70s. So becoming just, again, typical for the mid-August time frame. And the increasing heat indices, especially by the time we get to Wednesday and Thursday, upper 90s to around 100 degrees in a few locations. That rip current threat, moderate everywhere for today. And as we go later into the week, still looking at a moderate potential across the south tomorrow, and then becoming low as we get everywhere. As for the northern beaches and southern beaches as we get into Wednesday. We'll have to watch that rip current potential as we get into the weekend, and especially next week with any possible tropical storm Erin, depending on where that tracks. Could lead to some rip current issues in the later portion, you said this weekend or next week. And looking ahead to the temperatures and the precipitation trend for next week and beyond, looking at above average temperatures favored, and then near normal precipitation wise. And then you can see the typical, what we'd expect this time of year, usually mid to upper 80s during the day. So looking at above average for the next week time frame. Switching gears now to the marine portion of the briefing. Again, pretty benign, typical summertime weather pattern, some increasing onshore winds in the afternoon, sea breeze. We may have a few gusts close to 15, 20 knots this afternoon, especially maybe tomorrow as well in the typical locations. But otherwise a fairly benign forecast moving forward. Again, those max wind gusts mainly today, could be approaching, maybe at 15, 20 knots in a few locations, especially the lower bay and closer to the land, the rivers. But otherwise, again, pretty benign moving forward in time. And for the waves and seas as well, mainly averaging just 2 to 4 feet across the ocean and 1 to 2 feet in the bay. And that is all for the Monday briefing. If anyone has any questions, feel free to hang on and ask them, and I will answer them. Otherwise, everyone have a nice day, and we will talk again on Thursday.